Hello everybody, welcome back to Grounded Conversations. For those who are new here, I'm Liv. I wanted to talk about in this episode how heavy life can feel sometimes and how sometimes it can feel like the whole world is collapsing around us and how bad that can feel and how we don't talk about it enough, because I feel like everybody's had a moment where you've thought, how am I supposed to keep going like this, or why are all these bad things happening to me? But I want this episode to sort of serve as a reminder that what you feel isn't going to last forever, even if it feels like it is. Because I feel like it gets thrown around a lot, like sort of having a growth mindset and staying positive and things like that. And it can sound like, just be positive or everything will get better. Like, you have so many things you should be grateful for. And as much as I do think aspects of that is true, I do get the complete real aspect of feeling like your whole world is breaking down around you and feeling like you're stuck in a place of darkness and not knowing how to overcome that and not knowing how to be free from that. Because I think, to me, having a mindset and living your life where you are growing from things rather than staying stuck in the dark a bit is learning how to keep going and how to adapt when things get hard and how to keep pushing through it even when it feels like everything is going to shambles. Because it's not like pretending you're okay all the time and forcing yourself to be happy, because honestly, like, being in a dark place is such a real thing and I totally get that. But trying to look at things in a different light is not pretending you're okay all the time and pretending you're happy, because that's not going to do anything for you. But it's instead sitting in how you feel, acknowledging how you feel, but not staying there forever, and learning how to move past it and trusting that things can change even if you don't know how they're going to change yet, and that things will get better and that things will change for the better. And it's choosing to believe that even if this is hard right now, it won't always feel like this, especially when you're going through big life changes such as moving away from home, losing people close to you, outgrowing friendships, or even just becoming a different version of yourself, whatever that means for you. And all those things are hard to go through, and I think it's very easy for people to just expect you to look at all the positives and ignore all the bad sides of things and just get over it really, really quickly. But actually, I know for me, it takes me a while to adapt to new things. It takes me a while to sort of get to that point. And there's a lot of things to be proud of when you're growing and moving past things. But I think you also need to acknowledge that when you are going through hard things, it is very important to sit with your feelings and sit with yourself and be like, okay, well, I'm actually missing this person, or I actually feel sad about this thing. Because big life changes, you're going to feel negative feelings as well as positive feelings about certain situations. And it's important to sit with that and learn through that rather than just ignoring it and focusing on the good, because then you can sometimes create a bit of a toxic happiness if you're just ignoring how you feel. I think it's very important to acknowledge how you feel and be able to learn where that feelings come from in order to grow, in order to be past it. In the song I was listening to the other day by Jason Smith, I will put this in the bio or something. In his song, I think it's called Growing Up, there's a lyric that says, growing up is missing someone everywhere you go. And if you're like me and you've moved to uni, or if you've just moved in general and you're like not living at home anymore, one thing I've really struggled with, and I mean, we're in March now, so I've been at uni for a while, but one thing I've struggled with is having people I love and having really close people to me still in Birmingham and still in my hometown, and them not being as close to me anymore, but then having people at uni who I'm close to, is that like when I'm at uni, I'm missing the people from home, and when I'm at home, I'm missing the people from uni. And as much as that's a hard thing to go through, it's quite beautiful in a way that I can live these experiences and have so many different people in so many different places who love me and who I love. And it's a bit bittersweet that I also miss people, but I think if I was to ignore the fact I'm missing my friends, I wouldn't be able to love them in the way that I can be, if that makes sense. Like, if I was to sit here and be like, oh, I don't miss them at all, then I feel like I'd sort of be dismissing the parts of me that love them and the parts of me that actually want to spend time with them, and miss the fact that I'm not with my loved ones. And I think the fact that I know that, it helps me to actually show up for them a bit more, and it helps me know I should message them, I should see if I should hang out with them or send them a present, get them a letter or something like that. It helps me actually show up for them a bit more. So as much as I did find it hard, I think because I've acknowledged the feeling of, oh, I miss them because I love them, it's actually helped me grow and move past that. Because growth can be really uncomfortable and it can be quite messy and it's not linear. And sometimes it can look like just getting through the day or not giving up and trying again tomorrow. And if you are in a dark place, it can just be like just getting up, or just like waking up every day and just getting slightly better and taking it a step up every day, rather than jumping to the top of the ladder. It's taking it one step at a time and sort of going through it slowly. And it's not linear. Like, it's like sometimes you can take 3 steps forward, then 1 step back. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can feel like you've been going forward and improving for so long, but then something can happen where you take a step back and you sort of fall back into something or something like that. Like, growth and healing isn't just one straight process. It does take a while, and as much as that's hard, you do have to acknowledge that you should be proud of yourself for how far you have come, even if you do end up falling back for a second or falling into old habits or anything. You've come so far already. You should be proud of that. You should appreciate that for yourself. And I think, like, even just moving to uni as an example, change can feel like having everything being ripped away from you. Whether it's like moving to uni, having somebody pass away, or there's a lot of things that can change in your life that can just make it feel like everything's being taken from you, and that's really hard to deal with at times, especially because it can feel like your whole routine, the people around you change, and the things that bring you comfort change. And that can be really hard to process, let alone go through and deal with. If you have gone through anything, any big change in your life, which I'm sure everybody has, you should be really proud of yourself that you've moved past that and you're at the stage you're at. Or if you're in a moment, if you're at a time in your life at the moment where something big has recently changed, just know that it will get better, it will improve, and just stay with yourself through that, because it can make you feel very lost when everything changes, when it feels like your whole life is getting shaken up, and it can feel like you don't even recognise your life anymore, especially if something happens overnight. It can feel like such a big change has happened that you don't know what to do with yourself, your whole life feels different, and it can be very heavy and be very hard. And I think sometimes you do have to let things fall apart before they can get better. You sort of have to let things fall sometimes, so then you can build something better, like, on top of it, and build something new over it with the foundations you laid before. I think you have to let some parts of your life fall away that aren't meant to serve you, like friendships and toxic situations, and that you have to just let things go and just let things change you, because then you can build something new following that, and you can become a different version of yourself after that. Even if it doesn't feel like it at the time, you're stepping into a new version of yourself, and that can be quite scary. And you have to acknowledge that actually you've gone through so much already. You've gone through so many different versions of yourself. Like, I know even if I just say to myself, like, 2 years ago, I was such a different person who I am now. And as much as I went through things that made me hate my life and brought on a lot of crash outs and a lot of stress, I know that if I hadn't have gone through those things that have changed my life and have shaken my life a bit, I wouldn't be the person I am now. And I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys. So just stay with it. Trust that the new version of you will be better and that you're building something new. And that even though changes can be really hard, sometimes they can paint such a beautiful picture for the end of it. So just trust yourself and stay with it. But I know for me, a few years ago, I want to say like 4-ish years ago or something, I was in a really bad place mentally. And I was struggling with a lot of things. And honestly, I didn't really want to be on the earth anymore, which is a very heavy thing to deal with. And it can be quite dark and it can be very alone and lonely, especially when you don't want your life anymore. It's hard to then want to even wake up in the morning, let alone think, oh, things will get better. But trust me, as somebody who's been there and as somebody who has felt like everything's too much and that you can't see anything better in front of you, and that you just feel like there's no point in having a life anymore, let alone having one that will improve, or you can't even see it getting improved. Like, I know how hard that is, and I know how a big change can cause you to get in that mindset and can cause you to be just so stuck in the darkness in a way. But as somebody who has been through it, I know that, like, when your brain convinces you that you're going to feel that way forever and that you're stuck in the dark, that can be very scary and it can be very lonely. I mean, yeah, it can just be a lot. You just don't see any good change happening for you. But I promise, as somebody who's been there, things will get better. And I know how cliche that sounds, and I know I'm probably just a random person on your screen just yapping at you right now. But as somebody who has been in such a dark place, who didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, who generally didn't even think she'd make it to 16, let alone be here 18 at uni, it can be really hard to hear, but things will shift, things will change, and slowly and quietly, in ways and in places that you can't even see, things will change and your life will get better. I can't tell you how long that will take, but I promise that deep down, just trust, you will. Your life will improve, you will get better. And one day you'll realise, like, without even noticing, that you're not crying as much anymore, and that something doesn't hurt as much, and that actually you don't want to kill yourself, and that you'll that you're just starting to feel a bit more okay. And it takes a while to feel more than just okay. It takes a while to feel true happiness, trust me. But it will get better. You will improve in ways that you don't even know. You'll end up meeting people, seeing new things, just waking up one day and being like, actually, I'm starting to feel a bit more okay. Just trust, like, it will happen in a lot of tiny moments in ways you can't even see. Because I feel like healing isn't one big moment, and change often isn't one big moment, or heal, or like adapting to that change isn't one big moment. It's a lot of tiny little things that lead to you feeling okay, and then one day you wake up and you're like, actually, I feel different today. I feel like a different person, and it's because you've grown through that and you've molded this new person into that. And from as somebody who has been in a really dark place and now feels okay, like you can see on video like this tattoo on my arm of these butterflies, because to me butterflies represent change. So this is where I've got my like lovely new tattoo, because they represent change and growth, because butterflies literally start as caterpillars and they go through a whole physical transformation, and then the new version of them is this wonderful, delicate, beautiful butterfly. And they don't skip the uncomfortable parts. They literally have to go in like a cocoon for however long before they get turned into their like new version of themselves. But they don't rush it. They take their time, and they become a whole new creature. And there's so much beauty in that. And I think life can be like that sometimes, because you go through phases where you feel stuck and you feel lost and alone and like uncomfortable, and things aren't going to get better. But at the end, you can be transformed into a different, new, gorgeous version of yourself. And even when it doesn't feel like that, that doesn't mean that something isn't happening and that you're not becoming something, because you're allowed to change and you're allowed to recognise that you're not who you was before, and that's a good thing. Like, I find it hard to deal with like my nan who passed away a few years ago, who hasn't seen this version of me, who only saw me before and during the time where I was in a dark place and where I was struggling with a lot of things mentally. And it's hard to sort of allow yourself to be a different version of you, because it's like, oh, but it feels comfortable the way I was before, and people knew me like that, and close ones to me knew me like that, and it's hard to not let yourself change. But I think the more you change, the more you adapt. I think it's just a part of life. I think you have to change and adapt in order to grow into who you are, because like, you don't know what's around the corner for you. Like, you might have to adapt in order to be able to cope with getting a new job or meeting a new person. It might take you down a different path in life that you didn't realise was there, but actually you'll come out of it and realise, oh, I'm glad that I went through this hard thing, because otherwise I wouldn't be here right now. And I think things get better even when you feel like they won't. And I think for me, like, even with my tattoo, I think it sort of represents my life before and after I found Jesus as well. Because I know before I was in such a dark place, and like how I mentioned before, I didn't want my life. I remember, like, just as I was starting to explore having a faith like properly, I had a massive breakdown and ended up praying to Jesus, like, this is the first time in years I felt like it, but I don't want my life anymore, I don't know what to do with it. And I just felt like such an overwhelming sense of love and a sense of feeling wanted. So if you are in a dark place and you don't really know where to go and you don't know how to cope with what you're coping with, one thing I highly recommend, and I don't recommend it enough, truly, just download the Bible app on your phone, go talk to like your friend who's a Christian, go to church, do something. Just like, as somebody who was in such a dark place and was searching literally everywhere else, you don't know how much you need Jesus just to get through hard things and get through big changes in your life. Because just trust me, I don't even know how to put it into words properly, but you just don't know what you're missing out on until you try. So if you are listening to this and you are in a dark place at the moment and you're struggling and you don't really know where your life's going or what to do with it, just try and just consider Jesus. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. And that, just as somebody who's been there, honestly, like, even through something I was going through recently, I was like, why didn't I talk to Jesus about this sooner? Because actually, he's a pretty cool guy. So I recommend. And I think, anyways, since like finding Jesus, I find trusting in God with my life and trusting my life in God's hands has really helped. And learning to trust him beyond my understanding, because I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, how he's changing my life. But I trust that through the darkness and through the dark things, that he will make it good and that he will make everything better, because he has a purpose for you. You just have to talk to him. And I don't understand why things happen the way they do and why there is so much darkness in the world or anything like that. I don't fully understand that. And it can be really hard to come to terms with that, especially when you are in such a dark place. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And that's something I will reflect on this before doing the podcast, but before recording this episode, I reflect on that a lot and just reflecting on how it's hard to trust God at times. I get that as somebody who has been in such a hard place and loves being in control, because I think it just helps me mentally be like, oh, I've been through so many things. Like, my brother was born with heart issues. My mum was in hospital for a bit when I was younger. I've been in a lot of circumstances where it feels like the control was taken out of my hands. So it's hard to give that control over to God. But I think you don't know how he's working in your life, and you don't know how he's showing up for you, because he can show up in small and quiet ways, and you might not hear him sometimes, and it can just feel like you're waiting around for nothing, but he is working and he is listening to you, and he is finding ways to show up for you. So I think you just need to trust in him, because he has a plan for you. He has a plan to provide for you, and he loves you. And I think you just have to, like, sometimes let go and be like, I don't know what you're doing, Lord, but I trust that you've got it and that it's in your hands. So I'm just going to sit here and see what you're going to do with the situation I'm in, and listen to him and talk to him, and just, as I was saying before, trust me, if this is something you haven't considered before, even if you have nobody else to talk to, my DMs are always open. My Instagram, either at olivia.merryweather or grounded.conversations. Please reach out if any, or comment or whatever. Please reach out if there's any questions or anything anybody wants to talk about. But I think there's comfort in the idea that your life isn't random suffering. God will use it for good. You just have to trust that he will, and have faith and have hope, because there's still purpose ahead of you. There's still a light at the end of the tunnel, and that there are still good things you haven't experienced yet. And as somebody who has been in a place where they literally would cross the road without looking, because I was like, I don't want my life anymore, so if I get run over, I get run over. Trust me. Just trust me. Have faith, things will get better. And as somebody who's also looked literally everywhere else to try and find a purpose and to try and find love in their life and goodness, there's nothing else except Jesus that can bring you that fulfillment you're looking for. If there's any, just take this as a sign. If you, or whatever you want to take it as, just consider it. But if you're in a dark place right now, I see you, I've been there, I totally get how you feel. And you don't have to have it all figured out right now. God's got it, promise. Just keep going, things will get better and things will get easier. And you're allowed to grow and change and adapt and change to things that are happening around you, whether it's good and bad. And better days are coming, things will get better. Even if you don't see it properly, there's good days ahead of you, I promise. I promise things will get better. And I hope you all have an amazing week. If anybody does want to talk about anything, reach out. Anything at all, please let me know. Thank you all so much for listening. But I promise it will get better. And I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks' time. So I hope you all have an amazing couple of weeks until then. Bye everyone.